Berlin, July 9th, 2006. It was the World Cup final in extra time, and France was about to win the trophy. Zidane was in top form at the very peak of his career, and then, with a single sentence, he ended it all. Now don't ask the wrong question. Why did Zidane headbutt him isn't the real question. The real question is this: Marco Materazzi, a man who had received 25 red cards in his career, the sharpest mind in that stadium, why did he say that sentence at exactly the 110th minute? Was it a split-second accident? Or was it a flawless operation meticulously planned months in advance and executed down to the minute? Today, I'm telling the true story behind the scenes of that night. Let's get one thing straight. We don't need to exaggerate when talking about Zinedine Zidane. The numbers speak for themselves. 3 Ballon d'Or awards, 2-time Champions League champion, the 1998 World Cup final, 2 goals. By the 2006 final, the last major match of his career, he was the most dominant player of the tournament. But to understand Zidane, you shouldn't just look at his technical ability. You have to look at his psychology. Zidane admitted he received 14 red cards in his career, and in that 2015 interview he said this, take note of every word: 12 of my 14 cards were a direct result of provocation. This isn't an excuse, but my blood and passion always pushed me to react. In his own words, his own voice. This wasn't just Zidane's weakness, it was his Achilles heel, his most predictable trait. And in 2006, the architect of the chaos recognized this. Failing to take a psychological X-ray of your opponent is the same as losing to them. Marco Materazzi, over 60 yellow cards in his career, 25 red cards, and ranked 45th on the Times list of the 50 toughest players in soccer history. But these aren't just disciplinary records. This was a psychological record of how a man operated against his opponents for 15 years. Materazzi wasn't an ordinary defender. He fought with the mind, not the body. As he stated in his autobiography, he was a master who utilized every dirty trick he'd learned in the lower leagues. Throughout his career, he perfected one thing. He knew exactly which word, at which moment, would break whom. For him, this was the best way to break his opponents, and in the 2006 final, the perfect target for that skill was right in front of him. Invisible traps don't give themselves away, only their results are visible. The final began. 7th minute, Zidane put France ahead with a penalty. 19th minute, Materazzi equalized with a header. But Materazzi's real mission was something else entirely. If you watch the footage frame by frame, you'll see it. Materazzi was lurking in Zidane's shadow throughout the match. A slight tug on the jersey, a discreet elbow to the ribs, whispering something in Zidane's ear that no one else could hear. None of it was enough to warrant a card from the referee, and none of it was a coincidence. In psychology, this is called the drip provocation. Micro-attacks that seem meaningless individually, but when piled up, lead to a complete psychological breakdown. This was controlled chaos. Materazzi didn't rush because he knew what timing meant. A man who has run, fought, and strained for 90 minutes typically reacts 5 times as strongly as he would under normal conditions. Fatigue erodes mental defenses, and by the 110th minute, the walls had already begun to crack. The point of no return was approaching. The trap was set, and it was just waiting to be triggered. The calm before the storm. The clock read 110 minutes. Zidane walks past Materazzi. A brief exchange takes place between them. And then, Zidane takes 2 steps and stops. Those 2 steps, the 2 most critical steps in soccer history. Zidane didn't react immediately. He tried to process those words, attempting to maintain his composure for just those 2 steps. And then he lost it. What exactly had Materazzi said? We don't have to leave this to speculation. Materazzi confirmed it years later in 2 separate interviews. First, Zidane had offered his jersey. "If you want, I'll give you my jersey later." Materazzi's response: "I'd rather have your sister than your jersey." One sentence, a legacy shattered on live TV. This wasn't just a casual insult, it was a direct attack on his identity. Zidane later said, "I won't apologize for this. To say I'm sorry would be to admit he was right." Years later, he added, "I've never been proud of what I did, but it's part of my past." Materazzi also admitted in a 2024 interview, "This incident doesn't represent my career. It should never have happened." 2 men, 2 regrets, 1 trophy. Italy won the cup in a penalty shootout, and we have to ask the question, what would have happened if Materazzi hadn't said that final line? France had the psychological edge. With Zidane on the field, their statistical advantage was clear, and they had a better track record in penalty shootouts. But there's something even more important than that question. Why did the world's smartest player fall into this trap? The answer is unsettling. Intelligence and technical mastery cannot protect you against a direct attack on your identity. In that moment, Zidane was no longer the tournament's best player. He was simply the son of an Algerian immigrant, enraged on behalf of his sister. Materazzi didn't target his footballing ability. He targeted the price of his honor. Zidane left us with a lesson. On the biggest stage, at the most critical moment, what brings you down isn't incompetence. It's losing control. This is the most stark lesson of soccer psychology. Do you think Zidane did it deliberately and under control, or did he truly lose himself? World stage soccer, the real game behind the game, the real story behind the game. In the next video, we'll examine another legend. Don't miss it.